we will, you would say a lot more, there'd be a lot more build-up. We're wanting to start in 3 weeks' time, and this is the first time we're officially saying anything. We haven't actually said anything publicly, although Mel keeps jumping the gun and sending out emails with stuff on. And then I have to say, hey, listen, I haven't even told our people yet that that's the case, and you're going... but I think one of the reasons that's the case is just that there's been a lot of uncertainty along this journey, and I want to share some of that now. And there have been a lot of changes in direction in life for us, and it's just meant that we've had to kind of really hold back on sharing. There have been too many occasions in my past where I've shared what I felt was going to happen, and it hasn't, and it's been frustrating and infuriating for me, and disappointing for others as well. So I've been very nervous to step out until the very last minute. It's much easier to say jump and then just jump at the same time. So we're going to be planting a church. The journey of this goes back to the beginning of 2003 when I met Nix, and it didn't take long for us to fall in love and to start to connect. And one of the first things that I remember talking about was listening to the heart that she had for God and for His ministry, and I could see already how our hearts could come together in this. We were both starting in that, I think it was in that month that we both started for the first time working, and we were both working in youth ministry in 2 different churches in Cape Town. She just moved down from Port Elizabeth. And so we started our ministry lives together, parallel, and it's always been our heart to do ministry together, and I would say it's taken us 10 years to come to the place where we're finally starting to realize what that might look like, and starting to work at not just doing things in parallel, because it's easy to think that you're together but you're just in the same room, but actually being together, and that's why we're going to be sharing the preaching this morning. So we got married 2 years later, and we were serving at New Life Vineyard. I was on staff, Nicky has done a bunch of other jobs, and around about the beginning of 2010, I felt like I needed something new. Felt like some change was needed, and I'd been at that church then 17 years. I'd been on staff at that point 7 years. I lied. Count wrong. 6 years, 8 years, 7 years. I've been on staff for a while, and we felt like we were getting ready for something new. And then I was diagnosed with colon cancer, and we knew that nothing could change from a work point of view. We had an incredible supportive community. It was like my family, and it's very hard to go apply for a new job when you're not sure how much you're going to be able to pitch up for work. And so what began was a kind of almost 3-year journey of these parallel things of kind of going, God, like we feel like we want something new, and keeping our eyes on something new, at the same time walking this journey of trying to find healing, and going through the various ups and downs of treatment for colon cancer, and eventually that spreading to my liver and second rounds of stuff. End of 2011, we had I'd finished my first round of chemotherapy, and I was still under that invincibility of youth. How many of you remember the invincibility of youth? The invincibility, it was like, what's it going to do? I'll have treatment, I'll get better, we'll carry on, How hard can this be? And then, and so I had finished my chemo, I started to get stronger, and we said, right, we're going to go do something else. We almost got a job at Stellenbosch Vineyard, and then an opportunity came up to go to Dar es Salaam, and we traveled to Dar es Salaam, and we spent a couple of weeks there, and we loved it, and we came back, we were excited, and we were going to go there, and we found somebody to rent our house, and we'd both given up our jobs. And then I went for a medical test just to get the final tick, and they said, you've got a tumor on your liver, we need you to have another surgery and more chemotherapy. And that was it. Overnight, the whole thing got swept away. We were sitting with a bond payment that we couldn't make at the end of the month, and we said, God, what now? And it was a very frustrating, it was probably a far more painful time than even the first diagnosis. And so we moved out of home, and we rented a house out so we could afford to keep it. And Nicky went back to working a part-time PA job, and we moved with my mom. And two things happened with me in 2012. One, we knew that we had to move out from New Life Vineyard. I'd already trained up my replacement, so there wasn't much going back. and so we knew we were going to come here to Kenilworth Vineyard. That's where we wanted to be next. And so we came along, and we didn't attend because that's what we needed to do with some time to break. I watched a lot of Formula 1 on Sunday mornings instead. But we also started a home cell, and we basically just phoned up some friends that we knew. They were from a couple of different churches, some from Kenilworth, some from New Life, some went going to church, and we said, look, we need a support group. We need to share our journey with some people. Would you guys like to start a home cell? And so 9 of us started up, and we spent the first month and a half moaning about how horrible things were. It was the most depressing home cell you could ever go to. It was terrible. I mean, eventually, after a month, I actually had to say to people, it's okay if you're not feeling depressed and hopeless and lonely. You're still allowed to be here. Because so many of us were that you kind of felt like if you weren't feeling down, there was something wrong with you and you weren't part of it. We were struggling, other people were struggling with work, other people were struggling with relationships. It was just a lot of us were really struggling. But what happened was amazing. Over the first 2 or 3 months, things started to change. And sharing our stories and being prayed for and praying for one another, hope started to come amongst us. And although many of our problems didn't go away, the atmosphere in the room changed on Tuesday night. And so we had this home cell, and we were coming to Kenilworth, and we felt like it. And in June last year, we started getting more involved. I joined the worship team. This home cell started to grow, and people started coming along. Some of them weren't even Christians. We had to kind of explain to them what prayer was about. And I still remember the first time sitting with, we broke into groups of 3 to pray, and I prayed, and the next person next to me prayed, and there was this new girl's turn to pray, and I suddenly realized she'd probably never prayed aloud in her life before. So I'm quiet for about 30 seconds, and then she goes, I don't know what to do. But it was so exciting, just explaining grace to people and talking about who Jesus was and seeing people come alive. It was just an incredible thing. So this home cell grew, and we were having fun, and it was like some of the best fun I've had in ministry. And so we got to the end of last year, and I'd finished my chemo, and things were starting to look up, and we were kind of going, what next, God? And this year, so we decided we were going to plant a church, and so we started, and we decided we were going to have our first gathering. We were going to pull all the people together and say, right, this is what we're going to do, and share a vision. And in the week building up to it, I was exhausted, and I was like, I can't do this. And so a couple of us, I said to a couple of people, let's get together and pray instead. And so we did, and it worked out. That was what God wanted us to do anyway. And so we prayed, and then we prayed the next week, and we prayed 2 weeks later, and we prayed 2 weeks after that. And God started just speaking to us and encouraging us. And it's been a very meandering start. I like to plan things. I like to know where I'm going. I like to write everything down. I like to set up a nice structure and strategy and plan. And God likes to break down my plans. God likes to do things His own way, and He's taught us how to walk with Him step by step. We're still learning, struggling, but He's talking about it, to us about that. And so we got to June, and things have been meandering for a while, and then Penny said to us, listen here, you've got to start sharing the vision, you've got to start doing this. So we said, fine, we'll go to America. So that was just coincidental. We were going to America anyway. So we went to America and came back. And we've been sharing since we've come back. It just felt like God was saying, this is the next step for you. And so that's what we're doing. So why are we planting a church? I can tell you this much. It hasn't been any kind of clear sign from the Lord. I've been woken up a lot, but it hasn't been from dreams from God. It's been my cat who wakes me up at 4:30 in the morning. Sometimes I will struggle with this because it's like, you're supposed to have that vision. You're supposed to have that fiery, burning bush. And I haven't had one of those. But it seems to be what God is doing. And it also seems to be the thing that should be done. To be honest, there's a fair amount of rational thinking that goes into my decision. It kind of goes like this. We're part of God's kingdom, and God's kingdom advances. One of the best ways God's kingdom advances is that we plant churches. We're part of a movement that wants to be a church planting movement. Nicky and I are at the age where we could be planting churches. If we don't go and do it, who else will? So we're being obedient. We're being obedient to the things that we feel God is calling us, the things that God seems to be doing around us, and we're being obedient to what it means to be part of this movement and be part of the church planting movement. Is God in this? I think so. We hope so. There's a lot of uncertainty, especially because of some of the past false starts we've had. And when we thought we've heard God, it hasn't turned out to be right. But I'm also realizing that certainty, sometimes we cling to certainty because if we feel like we hear God's voice, then everything will be easy. Have you ever felt like that? If I just hear, if God tells me what to do, then it'll all work out. And recently we were reading the story of Nehemiah at work, and have you ever read that story of Nehemiah is brutal? God speaks very clearly to Nehemiah, and he says to him, I want you, he talks to him, breaks his heart for the walls of Jerusalem that have fallen down. And he gives him this heart to go and to rebuild the walls. And then the king, just this incredible thing where the king says, yes, you can go. He reasons him, and then he says, you can have stuff to build your walls with. I'll give you stuff from my own forest. It's like this incredible, God is like in this thing. And then he goes off and then he starts building the walls, and then he faces all this opposition. And I'm going, God, if you're so in this thing, why is he facing opposition? But we face opposition regardless of whether it's God's doing something or not. This week I received, can we stick up that first slide? This daily devotion that I get, and it's a prayer from Thomas Merton, who's a Catholic priest from the early part of the 20th century. Are we getting it? Here it is. I'll do that with you. My Lord God, I have no idea where I am going. I do not see the road ahead of me. I cannot know for certain where it will end, nor do I really know myself. And the fact that I think that I am following your will does not mean that I am actually doing so. But I believe that the desire to please you does in fact please you. And I hope that I have that desire in all that I am doing. I hope that I will never do anything apart from that desire. And I know that if I do this, you will lead me by the right road, though I may know nothing about it. Therefore will I trust you always, though I may seem to be lost and in the shadow of death. I will not fear, for you are with me, and you will never leave me to face my perils alone. How many of you feel like that often? We're all in the same company. That's how it feels to follow God, often. Sometimes God is clearer than others. It reminds me of the end of Psalm 31-39, which I remember praying many times years ago. David says, search me, God. If you go to the next section, we'll stick it up. Search me, God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there's any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. And that's our prayer in this. Next.
So, what is it going to look like for us? We are planting Mercy Vineyard Church. We gave the name away. We told Milt he could have it, and then we told him it took too long, so we took it back.
Use it or lose it.
3 weeks' time, 6th of October, we will be starting an evening service in Bergfleet. It's been quite an interesting journey in terms of where we go. We stay in Lakeside, and so we always thought Muizenberg seemed to be the right place. That's where we would end up. And as our home group has grown and people have come alongside us and we've journeyed through this thing, we've seen that the spread has been quite far and wide, and in fact us in Muizenberg are on the far side. So in terms of helping and being a place where everybody can get to fairly easily, Muizenberg wasn't really the right place to be. So we're looking to somewhere between Blue Route Mall, and Lakeside, beginning of Muizenberg, where we stay. So we'll see, we're looking, keep looking, and we pray that God will provide the right place for us to be at the right time. In terms of direction, where we're going, so far, we've learned that we go with what God tells us. As Rob has said, we have made plans, we have ideas, we have visions for what that's going to look like, and so it ends up changing. So what we have is a vision for the next 3 months. And for the next 3 months, we're going to have an evening service in Bergfleet with whoever and with the group of people that we have with us. And our aim has been, and it's come through so many times in our Sundays of prayer, that we want to build a safe place. A safe place for people to come that's solid and dependable, that they'll know whether there's 2 of us or 20 of us, it's going to be there, it's going to happen. And we feel like that's very important to build into. And something that Rob's mentioned many times, and he'll mention time and time again if you speak to him, is that so often people are called to a place, they're called to a group of people, and we've struggled with part of the calling because that hasn't been obvious. We haven't known definitely Muizenberg or definitely this group. All we've known is that we've been called to journey with a group of people and to focus on worshipping God. We find that when we're in that space, and we've seen it many times on a Tuesday night and in times together, that when we focus on Him, when our heart is for worship and to seeing where He is, our hearts grow more and more for Him, and more for the things of this world. And so our prayer in our journey is that as we focus on worshipping Him, that our hearts for mission, our hearts for the community around us, and for greater than that, will grow. So why Mercy Vineyard? To be honest, many times it's been thrown out to see what people think. And we thought, oh, is it a bit cheesy? Has it been done? We put it away, tried other options, and it comes back to us time and time again. We had a list of different options that we threw out to our home group, and they tested on people they knew, Christians, non-Christians, what would you think about this church called Mercy Vineyard, and many others. And we had lots of very cool names. We had lots of very funky, cool names. But in some ways, they're a bit too funky and cool. Things that had a bit of a date stamp on them, that wouldn't quite actually last. And so Mercy has come back to us. And we have had many conversations about what Mercy means, including, is it that picture from John Wimber about Mercy, I can't remember, was it him, the picture that he had, about lots of people walking around and some had umbrellas and some didn't, and there was like this honeycomb above people and honey was dripping off. And some people were running with their umbrellas, trying to get away from the stickiness of the honey. They didn't want it, and others didn't have it. They were just enjoying the taste and the loveliness of this honey. And God said to him, that's my mercy. That's my mercy. And so I think for a lot of us who have walked this journey from the beginning, we've seen pain and heartache, and we still will see. But that hope and that trust in His mercy means that we can fly umbrellas down and just enjoy of the honey from Him. We also see that mercy is a creative thing. In our group we have many creative people, from worship to design to paint to food. We like to eat in our group. And we've seen that creative mercy, and I love Rob came up with this, creative mercy is in a sense the picture of redemption. Because you can have, once again, Rob's picture of this house that's broken down and you can demolish it completely, start again. But creative mercy or redemption is when you go back and you look for what already exists, what's strong, what looks good. You put the time and the effort in, and you make it into something bigger, stronger, better than it was before. And what a picture of that in terms of what God does with us. We're broken, we are messed up, we get it wrong all the time, but He doesn't just destroy us. He spends time, pours in love, pours in so many things that cause us to be so much more, and He calls us to redemption in Him. And so for us, we are starting this thing bi-vocational. We're both going to carry on our jobs, keep going. Reason for this, mainly that there's no pressure for us to bring any money because nobody has to pay us a salary, which really helps. But also we've realised through the amazing months and years that we've been with the group that is coming with us, that there's nothing like team. We think we're pretty awesome together, but we don't have all of it, that's for sure. And we've seen the most phenomenal people journey with us, come with us, bring their flavour and their excitement and their joy and their brilliance and the skills and the gifting that they bring. And so we feel like if we do this in a team, we'll have such a better picture of who God is. And as people come and journey with us, they'll bring their flavour, and together we'll have a better picture of who God is and be able to show that picture to the world.
And if I could, had to summarise what the dream and the vision is of where the end goal, it's not any different to Kenilworth. It's not any different to another vineyard church. It's not any different to any other church really. The dream is to become disciples of Jesus ourselves. The dream is to show others how to become followers of Jesus. The dream is to see God's kingdom come, making a difference in the communities around us, from our families to our friendship groups to our workplaces to communities on our doorstep. The dream is experiencing God's presence. The dream is many cultures coming together, many generations coming together. The dream is to receive revival come. It's the same dream as everybody else. If there was anything that was particularly, we felt like was ours, was this idea of creative mercy. Creative people bring people of mercy. That's what we want to focus on. But really, as I said, and as this prayer goes, the plan is just to see what God does next. To see who He adds to us, to try and be obedient to what He shows us, and to endeavour to have as much fun as possible along the way.
going on from there, there's something that Rob and I would really like to do, and that is to say thank you. When we first came here, we were heartbroken, spirit broken. There was that scripture that says, hope deferred makes the heart sick. And I felt like that was where I was, definitely. My heart was very sick. We had hoped for so much, and a lot had been dashed. And so I came to Kenilworth literally some days, walking in, enjoying the worship and the preaching, and going, okay, I can't handle anybody praying for me and leaving. And it's so funny, because those are the people who used to annoy me when I was in ministry. And now I was this person, but I found in this community a safe place, that it was okay for me to be like that. And then I knew that, that I've seen people walk away from church and never come back. And in being in a space where we were safe, where we were allowed to do that, we went in less than 6 months, we were able to stand back up and have the strength through God, through what He had done, but through a community that we found here. And so thank you for being that for us, being a safe place, for calling us out in a sense, for supporting us, and for offering us a space to share our hearts of worship, hearts to share, to preach. You really have offered us a space that is very special in our hearts. And so even though we're starting this new thing, that you are so special to us, and Kenilworth always will be such a special place to us. I really wanted to thank Milt. Thank you so much for journeying this journey with us, for being a sounding board, for letting us beat our fists sometimes, cry our tears, share our joys, for really walking this journey with us. It's been amazing to have you pray for us, care for us. It really has been very special. Thank you. To the Greater Vineyard, who has walked a journey with us, we're not on here today, but Pastor Lorraine is a representation of that. Thank you for that, and for your personal journeys with us, the way you have loved for us and heard us in our frustrations and in our joys as well. Thank you. And to our family group, most of you are here. You guys wouldn't be here without you. I don't know where we would be, to be honest. The journeys that we've had, the prayers we've seen answered, guys, the ways that we have hungered after God and been frustrated with Him, and then seen Him come through in ways we did not expect. For encouraging us to step out in this thing, and then putting the brakes on when we've gone too fast, and then when we've gone too slow, calling us out and going, it's now, guys, the time is now. And so we are honoured by your friendship. We are honoured by your prayers, and we are just so excited to do this thing with you. So thank you so much. And lastly, just to God, we have all sorts of journeys, as every one of you do. A journey that is yours specifically. It's your story. It's your thing to share with the world. And so as we walk forward in a great way, the unknown, we are just honoured by the history of His faithfulness, of His goodness, of the safe community He has always brought around us, and of the way He's restored our calling to us. And if He is the same today and tomorrow, that means that only good things are ahead of us. So we thank God.
So what's going to be happening from here is that for the next 3 months till the end of the year, you're still going to see us on a Sunday morning, reasonably regularly. I'm still going to be involved in worship. Some of the home cell will still be around for worship. Some people that are coming with us are going to be coming and just checking us out, so they'll still be attending here on the Sunday morning regularly. So this is not goodbye. At the same time, it is a step for us, and I think our new place of belonging will be Mercy Vineyard. This is not a call to come with us. Please don't come with us. We love you, but we value our lives more. But please pray for us, please encourage us, and please celebrate with us. I really felt, and Costa's given me permission to write an email to the Vineyard, that we need to learn to celebrate these things together. This is a step that we're all part of. You guys have been a massive launch pad for us, and we really appreciate that. So please celebrate with us, pray for us, encourage us, send us chocolate cake, and ask us how it's going. Melt.